Welcome back to Mojo Talk Radio, a place for real talk. And I'm bringing some beautiful, powerful Mojo makers, real life Mojo makers to the Mojo Nation audience to help them spiral up their lives in the places that matter for them. I'm Pamela Silvan, your host, and also a Mojo maker, here to help those I work with go to those next powerful places in their lives and in their
Yeah.
So today I'm super excited to welcome back a reoccurring guest of mine who continues to knock it out of the ballpark each time she shows up on the stage with us. And I'm talking about Victoria Lorient-Faibish, a holistic psychotherapist. But I'll have Victoria introduce exactly how she works with people, because this is important, folks, because when we're out there going up against life, it's great to know that people such as this are here to help us on our journey. Victoria, welcome back to Mojo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love your Mojo. I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. So Victoria, share with our listening audience and our viewing audience how you help people out in the world.
So I'm a registered psychotherapist, and I also am a holistic psychotherapist, which means that we're not just talking, we're looking at the body, the mind, the spirit. It's a holistic approach. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I've written a couple of books that really encapsulate the work that I do. Find Your Self Culture, moving from depression and anxiety to monumental self-acceptance, and connecting, rewire your relationship culture. And so I really feel that we have a self culture, a relationship culture, a family culture, and it's really worth analyzing those three aspects.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for coming back for today's conversation, specifically to address those places where the next level leaders are probably frightening and scaring themselves because they are now in a new situation. And like I like to say, new level, new devil. So
I love that.
So let's start talking about this so they can get some help as to how to proceed. Now, one of the things I find when talking with people specifically about this specific area around how to be or how not to frighten themselves now that they are in a new situation, especially for those in leadership positions. The anxiety arises based on the fact that it's new territory. I'm sure you're seeing this a lot in practice, Victoria. So let's start the conversation on how we can start to talk to them about this particular issue.
Yeah, I mean, the only way we're going to grow and get to the next level, to be honest with you, people that I work with are interested in growth, are interested in transformation, are interested in getting to their next level, their next goal. And the one thing that they experience is a tremendous amount of crippling anxiety that paralyzes them from moving to the next place. And so they come in and see me. It's like, help me, because I work with anxiety specifically. I work with anxiety from a holistic perspective, natural ways, as opposed to popping an Ativan, because yes, an Ativan will help, but I have to say it's also highly addictive and dangerous. So I really, try and help people to work naturally with what happens with anxiety. But I got to say, the key common element in most people, if not all people that experience anxiety and they scare themselves, is that they are not in the present moment. The anxiety is largely about the future worrying, the future horrible experience. What happens if I try and I fail? What happens if they hate me? What happens if I go there and I've put all of my eggs in the basket and I fall flat on my face? What happens if I basically a very scary future. It's all about the very scary future.
Now, one of the things, Victoria, that's a great point. And one of the things that people are directed to do is fake it till you make it. What do you say to that?
Well, that's one component. I think that's one aspect, fake it till you make it. But, fake it till you make it on your own doesn't really work. I think you need tools and techniques, specifically various tools and techniques, because the brain is a series of neural pathways that are habituated in fear. And the amygdala, which is the little gland, the little part of our brain at the back of our brain, little tiny little piece of our brain that basically is the fight flight response, and it processes information at 1/32 of a second. So if you're just saying fake it till you make it, that amygdala is going to trick that so profoundly. So profoundly. So it's important that we work with the amygdalian response, which is the very quick response that says, oh my God, it's too scary, and so I'm not even going to try. Let me just think small, feel small, be meek, be safe. You know, we become safety addicts. We become comfort addicts. And there is a place for safety in all of our lives and comfort zones. Mm-hmm. But when we're trying to evolve and we're trying to get to our goals, you know, we've got to accept the fact that we're going to be uncomfortable.
Okay.
And I think the very first tool is an emotional and cognitive intellectual accepting of discomfort
so
as an okay thing.
I like how you started off the conversation about the sort of habituation in our lives, the habits and the choices that we're making that are habits. And as we know, when it comes to things like habits, they are working for you or they're working against you, depending on the habits that you have. Now, I'm assuming that those that have reached some level of success in their life have a success habit in place already, okay? Mm-hmm. So they know what to do to get to where they're going. So the next place that they're going, the habit of doubting themselves may not be as acute as someone who's just trying to establish their first success or
right.
their first million or whatever
right.
that happens to be.
Right.
Okay? So I'm asking, how can we help those that maybe have made some success in their business or and they have made that first million, but the fear now is, how do I keep it? They're going to figure out that I somehow tripped into this. I'm a fraud. You know, that sort of place people go to because they don't quite feel as if they actually did it.
Yeah. Yeah. They thought it was a fluke. They said it's a fluke. It's just a fluke. Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes it is a fluke, you know. I'm not here to say that sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it is a fluke. But what I do know is that people who are successful and who are, you know, traveling in the next realm, you know, past their comfort zone, the number one thing is that they accept that they are going to be uncomfortable, that they need to embrace the notion of discomfort. That's the number one thing. People are like, well, I don't want to feel uncomfortable while I'm doing this. And I'm like, I don't think that's possible. You are going to feel a level of uncomfortability, but can you not make it mean what it is not? It's just a feeling. Just because you're feeling uncomfortable doesn't mean that you should make it mean that you're weak, or make it mean that it's wrong or bad, or make it mean that somehow there is something to judge here. Just take it as a neutral truth. I am uncomfortable because I'm about to speak in front of hundreds of people versus sitting in my office.
Yes. You know, one of the things I think people believe when you get to that place you've been striving to get to for so long, that all feelings of fear are off the table. I've arrived. Or all feelings of falling down are no longer there, but you still have it when you get there. So someone forgot to tell you something, and that imposter feeling is now the thing of the day. They're going to find out that I'm not really all that in a bag of chips, right? So being in that comfort, being in that discomfort, you say, is something that we have to practice living in. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah,
there?
Practice living and accepting that discomfort is part of the journey. And then you don't have to do that alone. I would say that it's really, number two, it's really important to watch your inner running commentary. Your inner running commentary has to be paid attention to. Because if your inner running commentary is all about, I'm an imposter, this is not for me, I'm not worth it, this is not, you know, this is never going to work, you know, it was a fluke, it can't happen again, lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. All that is an inner running commentary that we need to catch dead in its tracks and slow it down by just simply doing what I call, and what one call mindfulness breathing. Mindfully breathe. Pay attention to what the inner running commentary. And, you know, I have to say, prepare to succeed. And prepare to succeed means you've got to lay out the territory for success with a relaxed mind state. And that does not happen without practice. Meditation, slow breathing, you know, exercise, healthful eating, an alkaline way of eating. So it's all about, you know, how we do some things. You know, T. Harv Eker, Millionaire Mind Intensive, says, how we do some things is how we do everything. So make sure that all of you is low acidity, low alarm. So do the work to keep your breathing relaxed, keep your exercise going so that your body is well supported. Because if you're going to be tackling the next levels, it's not going to work if you're exhausted. It's not going to work if you're resentful. It's not going to work if you're unprepared. So prepare to succeed, which means prepare the territory.
So there's a couple of things that come to mind for me in what you just said. It's about practicing a state of equanimity then. Because leaders, we look to our leaders to be people who are stable, grounded, they are breathing, they have that sort of life that we look towards for our leadership cues, right? So being in a state of equanimity is an important point. And also preparing for that next place probably through, and you're really good at this, Victoria, is visualization techniques.
That's right.
Seeing it, who you're going to be in that space when you arrive in that space, so it's not a shock to your system when you arrive there. Is that a helpful place to take people?
Yeah, I think that equanimity is important because you don't want to be so reactive. You don't want to be living in your reactions. You want to be living, less reactive and more accepting and less judgmental, and slowing things down. So that gives you the ability to, just like you're saying, to see yourself in it. I mean, one of the things that people tell me is like, I'm having trouble seeing it. And they're like, well, then I can't see it because I'm having trouble seeing it. So I actually sit with people and say, okay, let's paint the picture. Let's force the brain into it. Get a hold of your brain and actually force your brain into a positive visualization of where you would like to be or what it is that you're looking to bring yourself to that next level. See yourself in it. And then at that juncture, have a pen and paper next to you. Mm-hmm. And when you're visualizing it, get the details. The more details, the better. What are you wearing? How are you feeling? What's the experience? It's not so much the details physically, but also what am I feeling as I'm in that next level, as I've, bought that business, started to do the speaking, doing the new thing. What are you feeling in your imagined state? Because when the person is anxious, what they're feeling in their anxiety is drama, unhappy, reactivity, angry, resentful, afraid, small, all of that stuff. So we're forcing the brain to create new neural pathways, and we're saying, feel this new thing, and how ideally do you want to feel? And also get a pad and paper and ask yourself the key question, which is, what are the objections to manifesting that reality? And write down, well, people like me don't get this, don't get this, or I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too much of a woman, I'm too black, I'm too white, I'm too yellow, I'm too purple, I'm too effed up, I'm too broken, whatever it is. I don't come from that stock, whatever it is. Write it all down. Write all that stuff, because the more you shine a light on the monsters, the more you can most often transform that monster into just a small aspect. In other words, the monster is like the Wizard of Oz. It's like this massive voice, but you peel back the curtain, it's like, oh, just a little old guy. That big monster feeling.
Talking about, Victoria, is structure, success structures, building those places that are going to keep you solid as you move into this and shift into this new way and place of being. Because I think it's an easy, I can see how people will sabotage themselves so that they can go back to that place in which they know how to handle. Because even when you get to a new level of success and you've been operating at that place for some time, it gets comfortable. And I'm hanging on to that little that I got and made, and I want to make sure I don't lose that. So the next place is they're feeling out of control. And I know a lot of people, and I'll pull myself in there at times, you want to feel that sense of control, because that's what makes you good at what you do.
Yeah.
You can do it, right?
I know.
But it doesn't take you to that real big place that you really can be in your full potential, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, also challenge your thinking. when you write down all these limiting, or when you write down all the limiting beliefs, or the, what is blocking me from manifesting that particular visualization, what emotions, what are my objections to manifesting that? So start to, as I said, write it all down, but then really challenge your thinking, in terms of any thought there that is, I'm too broken. Let's just say people say that I come from too much of a difficult background, to be that successful or to be at the next level. How can I lead people if I'm that, broken, or I've come from such a broken background? And the challenge, I say, so challenge that. How could you challenge that? And a good one is, for that, it's not where I've come from that matters. It's where I'm going.
I give you the thumbs up on that one. And why? That used to be a looping conversation for me. I'm coming from brokenness, a broken place. Who am I, me, Pamela Sylvan, who am I, based on all of that back there, to talk to you or anybody on this planet about taking them to that place of success? Because I'm from a mess.
But let me just say that, let me let you finish. Let me let you finish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was just going to say is, but you know what? People want to hear relatable human experience. Like, people want to hear someone who's come from brokenness, because they too, listen, as a psychotherapist that's been in private practice for over 20 years, I'm telling you, 98% of people come from dysfunctional families, or maybe I'm exaggerating, but really a lot of people come from situations that are not amazing. And in fact, some of the most amazing people that are so successful come from the most broken situations, come from the most traumatic situations, abusive, scary, trauma, all of that. And if you consider yourself, I'm not going to do anything because of that, you're basically cutting off all the people that could relate to your journey, that could relate to you and your journey, and feel more comfortable, frankly, because of your journey, feel more comfortable with you because of your journey. And human beings relate to vulnerability. They relate to people who expose their vulnerability. And I believe that people become more and more successful the more they expose their vulnerability and their journey through it.
I can't help stop smiling at you as you're talking, because that was my biggest monster to move through, was that thinking. And I know a lot of people have that, especially as they're tracking higher and higher. They're going to figure out the fact that I'm a mess. And I know I kept my sort of limiting belief. It was someplace that I kept banging my head against all the time and keeping myself just so. Until I cracked that code.
Right on.
I cracked the code, and not that I'm burying my soul with every detail of that. I don't, I still like my privacy at times. The vulnerability, though, is I'm human, people. Take it or leave it.
Right, that's right.
My humanness is what drives my day. It drives my passion. It drives my story. It drives my success.
So it's not about exposing a bleeding heart. Oh my God, this is where because that can make people, overly, you're boundaryless, in your revelations. There needs to be a boundary, but it's that fine balancing act of being useful and of service to the people that are hearing you. Being useful and of service will be that very discerning understanding of what should I share so that I can really make that person who's listening to me break down their wall. And let's see if, because of we're sharing a simpatico, a similarity, we can together go to the next level.
Absolutely. Let's sort of focus on women for a minute. As women in the world of, say, that's entrepreneurship or business, as they're moving higher, some of the things that they hit their head up on is having to give up their empathy or niceness. This is what they believe that they have to do in order to be a successful player in the world of business, or competing against a man for respect and for the position and for the money. What do you say about women who are freaking out about that? Because I come across a lot of that as well. Who do they have to now become to be that next level person?
I mean, I don't think people need to ever lose their ability to be kind and nice to be successful. I think some of the most success, Richard Branson, highly nice, pleasant individual. There are many very, 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 well, you're talking about women, but there are many women that are nice, that suffer no fools. In other words, no one is going to mess with them. They're nice, but I'm not a fool. It's like, and I call myself, I'm a really nice person. I'm a loving, vulnerable, thank you. I'm a loving, vulnerable person, but nobody's gonna, F with me either. You know what I mean? They know I have boundaries, and I'm not, and so let's just talk about that in terms of a lot of people experience anxiety and keep themselves small because they're afraid of having boundaries. And they're afraid of offending people, and they're afraid of, really stepping into their power and saying no. And or boundary. We've spoken about boundaries before, but boundaries in business would be, the ability to say no, the ability to value your time, the ability to say what works for you, what doesn't work for you. These kinds of things in business, in the corporate culture. But we are 100% responsible as to how we deliver that message. Deliver the message in a fair, kind, where possible, loving way. And if you're doing those three things, it is not your responsibility. It is not anybody's responsibility how the other person feels.
Absolutely.
You can say it perfectly. You can say it just perfectly. And the other person still may simply hate that you are saying no.
Well, one of the things I'm working on with someone right now is that exact point. And here's how it goes. We're working on getting their leadership muscle, their tough muscles up, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're afraid that if they get there, people won't like them for saying no. And I said to them, but people say no to you all the time. And that's how they keep their sanity and keep that velvet rope around them. Mm-hmm. And you have to practice this. You really, really do.
Absolutely.
I know you have to practice getting to that point. And I'm attracted to people with healthy boundaries, believe it or not.
Oh, me too. It's refreshing. Yes. I find it refreshing when people let me know where they stand. Now, I'm not going to BS you and say I don't sometimes feel offended if someone says no to me. Like that's not realistic. I'd be BSing you. Of course I do. But that doesn't make me not like the person. I actually respect the person more.
So do I. So
yeah, I really do.
She felt good enough about herself or himself to say that.
Right.
Maybe that's something I should look at too, I say to myself. Where am
That's
I
right.
not
That's
honoring
right.
my own self by not having such boundaries? Maybe it is good for me or not, but at least I ponder that for a moment.
When you give yourself permission to say no, you're giving the other person also permission to say no, and you're opening yourself up to the amazing opportunity of a truly authentic relationship. Yeah. And I invite, some of the work that I will do with people is, so let's work on how you are, and I myself have had to work on this, how impacted I am by what other people think about me. So I think when we're trying to get to the place of being at another level of success, it's really caring a lot less about what other people think.
Yes.
And that's something I believe that lives in the domain of the family of origin issues.
Yes.
Relationship with family of origin. And that is a really big piece of work that people need to do. I believe that people keep themselves small. Like I was recently working with a wonderful new person who, is this awesome, lovely, kind, pleasant, beautiful person. But people constantly take advantage of him. So my work is to help him to say no. But the problem is, Pamela, is he didn't know what he didn't like and what he did like. He basically had been trained in his childhood that ignore your preferences. Ignore your preferences. Don't have a like or a dislike. Just be amenable to whatever it is that's presented to you. It was sort of a spiritual concept. It's like life gives you something, you accept it kind of thing. And whereas I believe that, Life gives you this, you accept it. I believe that you have to also be very intimately involved with what do you want, what do you don't want, who are you, what's your preference, what's your not preference. Because if you don't, people get exhausted, people get unhappy, people get resentful, and basically you're not setting yourself up to go to the next level.
No, no. I like what you said there about that spiritual point where, there's a huge conversation about how life should be. At the same time, I think it lets a lot of people off the hook from taking responsibility for their part in how life is created. Yes,
right.
Life is life. And it doesn't really, and I'll be blunt about this, life doesn't really care about you like that. You have to jump in as a co-creator and make something of it.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are sitting back waiting for that to happen to them.
Yeah. I think you're really right. And there's a great book that's just come out by the CFO of Facebook. This woman, I can't remember her name. She lost her husband. She's written a book called, what is it?
Is it Sheryl Sandberg?
Yeah. She just lost her husband a couple of years ago, and she wrote a book called Plan B. Exactly. So, when life, hits you hard and gives you exactly the opposite of what you expect, yes, I want you to accept it and to work with that. But that doesn't mean you abdicate your ability to have a choice of what you'd like to bring forth and to take responsibility for that and really own that and really, really own that. And if as you're really, really owning that and really, really visualizing this one particular thing that you want, but something completely different comes, there's something to be said about the fact that we don't have control over everything we bring into the planet and manifest. Our responsibility is to get really clear about what we would like. But then life will give us what it gives us. And sometimes it's a match and sometimes it's not. But our job is to flow with that stuff that's coming at us while at the same time being responsible for what it is that we would like to create, which is why I call it a co-creative universe.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, Victoria, any sort of final thoughts for the listeners and viewers about how to take care of themselves as they're moving into that new space of being and working with their anxiousness around all that? Anything that they can start doing the minute tonight, maybe, that they can start doing to help themselves?
Well, the number one thing is start meditating. Start meditating. If you're not meditating, start meditating. And I don't care if you're simply breathing for 5 minutes, downloading an app on Headspace, which is a great app, or on Sounds True. That's another good app. Get involved in calming the brain down so that the fight-flight response, that amygdala that operates at 1/32 of a second, that processes fear overly, is calmed down. That's the number one thing people can start doing right away. The number two thing that they can probably start doing is start journaling. And the number three thing is visualize. Visualize, visualize, visualize. Don't just sit there and go, well, life's kind of, crappy. No, get busy doing your inner work. So, absolutely. And that is what helps. And the other thing is, if there's one thing I recommend in terms of maybe a supplement people can take, I love holy basil. Holy basil will calm people down. Yeah.
You know what? You're my second guest ever to talk about holy basil. Another reoccurring guest of mine, Dr. Tanya G., she introduced me to holy basil tea.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
That's my way of getting into that sort of space of equanimity.
Yeah, that's right. And judge less. Equanimity is judge less. Don't make it mean. Feel the feeling, though. Feel the feeling. Don't deny that you're having the feeling, but just don't judge it. Don't judge that you're having the feeling. Feel the feeling and don't judge that you're having the feeling.
Nice, nice. Victoria, you're a blessing to me. And like I said, I'm attracted to people with energy like yours. They're strong, they know their thing, and they are fun and lovely to be around. So you're a great mix of both. So thank you so much. I appreciate who you are, and thank you for joining me on my walk and my journey as well. Whenever I get stuck in my head about something, I think, what would Victoria do?
Oh, thank you so much, Pamela. I love your mojo. I love what you bring to the table. You bring some extremely positive. Anyone who's hearing you is well served, my dear.
Oh, Thank you so much. So Victoria, how can our listeners come check you out in the world? What can they do?
So the easiest way is go to my website. Everything is there. I have webinars, I have books, I have articles, I have videos at my website, visualizationworks.com, because of course, visualization does work. So visualizationworks.com. And they can follow me on Twitter at selfculturenow. They can follow me on Facebook, Victoria Lorient-Faibish, and also Connecting, Rewire Your Relationship Culture on Facebook. Come on down and follow me. Every day I post inspirational things on Twitter, on Facebook, and come to my website, visualizationworks.com.
Yep, check out her hub, folks. She's got some good stuff going on there. And her latest book. Tell us the name of your latest book.
So the latest book is called Connecting, Rewire Your Relationship Culture. I also do Skype therapy, as well as in the office in Toronto, where I combine talk therapy and body-centered holistic work.
Yes, yeah, no, she's fabulous. Fun to be around. I was on her show in Toronto in the fall. Great times. And you're continuing that, are you not?
Well, you know what? Rogers has done a number. Rogers, the community channel is no longer, sadly, but there will be other things that will happen. So stay tuned on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you're a fabulous host. That energy is powerful. So good stuff. So once again, Victoria, thank you for joining us here on Mojo Talk Radio. I look forward to more such encounters to help us here spiral up our journey to our next level success and experience. And for the listening and viewing audience, again, I will have Victoria's link to her hub where you can go and mix things up with her. And I look forward to bringing you more beautiful Mojo makers like this to help you spiral up in all areas of your life. So thanks, everybody. See you again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.